going to churches on Saturdays or Sundays, listening to their pastors. That's as far as their truth-seeking goes.
Right, exactly.
They never seek the Lord directly for truth. They never learn to hear His voice. And then when you tell them to stop and learn how to hear His voice, they look at you with that dead look in their face.
Right.
They know what you're talking about.
Right. Their eyes glaze over on you.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if anybody might be trying to get on the line right now. I don't know if you can tell that, but I probably should move on in case somebody's trying to make a phone call here before you run out of time.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in.
Yeah, you're very welcome, and keep
insight.
up the good work, and we'll continue to pray for you.
All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I've heard a lot this whole week from just different people over the internet, and I went out of town for a couple of days, and I look at my email, and it's just bogged with emails from people are waking up, and that's the problem. Where there's a lot of people waking up, there's a lot of people going to sleep, and it's not time to go to sleep, folks. It's not time to believe in the Sitchins and the other disinfo people out there that want you to buy the agenda they're selling. This whole alien phenomena that these Anunnaki coming are our creators and forefathers. That's going to be one of the sweeping deceptions in the last days when they return, because when this Maitreya comes, he looks like Jesus, he talks like Jesus, he walks the walk like Jesus, he has a religious persona like Jesus, says all the right things, does all the right things, claims to have power from his Father, which he'll be able to perform miracles. And we know, looking around us today, that even without this Maitreya, millions are already falling for these charades. Because they're sitting in these beast churches where they're cursing God and their tongue speaking, the fake miracles. I mean, when has the Lord ever healed somebody to have that person go into convulsions on the floor? Come on, folks. This whole thing of laying on of hands where the person falls backwards. I mean, this stuff went on in the occult before Jesus even came. It's all demonic. When people referenced for the Lord, they knelt down forward. They didn't fall backwards. That's a demonic manifestation. What this whole thing with a lot of these faith movements is almost as silly as using the term Patriot Act when it's there to destroy you.
Sherry?
It's called the Destruction Act.
Sherry?
Yeah.
You have another caller.
All right, put him on.
You're up, John.
Well, hello, this is John.
Well, hello, John, again.
Oh, I was listening to the last caller.
Yeah.
He brought up some excellent points. And,
good insights.
Very good insights. Regarding Zecharia Sitchin, in one of his books where he talks about this theory of us being the experimentation product of the outer space folk,
right?
He uses as his biblical reference for that, he said, well, if we start Genesis with an aleph rather than a base, it can be reinterpreted. And grammatically he is correct. However, it's absolutely mathematically impossible. The first sentence of in Hebrew of Genesis, the Bereshit bare Elohim ad ha-shamayim va'ad ha'eretz, equals exactly 37 times 73, two mirror image prime numbers, and it cannot be off one letter, or that and about 15 other overlaying codes fall apart. And it's one of the indestructible, immutable sentences in the Bible where we're sure that it's correct. Obviously, there are sentences where people have disagreements or they're still thinking about things, but this particular sentence is letter perfect, and there is a rigorous mathematical proof to that. You can find that at BibleWheel.com or on the Vernon Jenkins site. In fact, the mathematical analysis of this one sentence has converted a lot of atheists to believing in God that were physicists or had a powerful mathematical educational background. They see that the miracle of the code behind this first sentence. And it's
what's funny is the codes are bringing the atheists to the Lord, but the Christians totally reject it. The Christians will tell you, oh, it's divination.
Christians have no interest in it, and I find that amazing.
I hear it all the time because what happens is they hear a code they don't like.
Oh.
And so they just reject the whole thing because it's rattling their cages a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And if you're really going to be a truth seeker for the Lord, you know you have to get rid of everything you're comfortable with and throw it out so that the Lord can reteach you everything.
And another thing about Zecharia Sitchin, although I enjoy reading his books, and there's a lot of interesting things in there, he plays fast and loose with a lot of things. Some of his translations from Chaldean or Babylonian cuneiform are, I would say, questionable, and I think many other people agree that to make a point he will bend this or bend that. And there are a lot of those texts around, and there are experts out there, and many of them disagree with Mr. Sitchin's translations.
Well, you know, he kind of set himself up as a self-professed guru of the ancient Sumerians, the one being able to transcribe everything that they had written. And so you're pretty much taking it at his word. Because there's nothing else to base it on other than, like what you said, some people that have studied themselves and question his conclusions. I've never been led to read his stuff. Once I was hearing the basis of what he was saying, kind of threw out the rest of anything else he's done, because if that's his conclusion, that we were created by test tubes, by Anunnakis, then you know he's not of the Word.
This is true.
You know, so there's just certain people that will not let me read their material. I've been in the Bible codes for 3 or 4 years now. I've never once read Michael Drosnin's books.
No. And I like your codes better.
I've heard about his codes. That's as far as I could go because I've never seen them. I've never read them myself. I never felt ready to read his books. There's just a lot of stuff that the Lord doesn't even want me reading. But you know, that's what I've heard. I've had rabbis go over my codes. There's a group in Pennsylvania.
There's some wonderful rabbis out there. There are some wonderful rabbis out there with a good grammatical knowledge of Hebrew, and a lot of things that seem hard to understand. Often a rabbi can bring it into focus very quickly, and that is helpful. As an example of the Genesis 1:26, let us make man in our image. It sounds like a plural, but as an example, in the Union of American Hebrew Congregations modern commentary on the Torah, they say, no, that's what's called a majestic plural, or spoken to an angelic court. It does not mean it's a group of space aliens.
Yeah,
not at all.
That's what they make it sound like.
Which is what Zecharia Sitchin tries to make it sound like, I believe.
Yeah, and that's why they call themselves the Elohim. It's the Enlil branch. Anunnaki stands for those who from heaven came to earth, because they fell. They were kicked out of heaven after they fell. You know, and the one basis, the missing link, is the soul. You know, they were able to create the Magnum and all those evolutionary type figures, but they never could create a person with a soul. They couldn't duplicate. They still can't duplicate it today. You know, the Greys have continued on with genetic engineering experiments, and they still can't create a being with a soul. And another thing they can't master, that but the occult hold into high numbers, is 11, 22, and 33, the basic blueprint of man. And they still can't duplicate that either.
It's a great mystery and a miracle, and I'm just so grateful for sites like yours that bring out the truth, bring out different viewpoints, and challenge people.
Yeah, you know, not everybody is you know, when the Lord put me in this alien agenda 3 years ago, there wasn't a whole lot of people out there to get information from. I mean, there really wasn't. One of the sites that I still like today, Guy Malone over at alienresistance.org, and Rick Vituti over at stargods.org. There's very few sites, Christians, that are dealing with this.